The happiest day of my life turned into the most painful 30 seconds I had ever lived. I stood inside the arrivals terminal at Dallas, Fort Worth International Airport with a bouquet of white roses in my hands, counting every passenger who walked through the sliding doors. My wife, Rebecca, had been away in New York for almost 2 weeks attending a business conference, and I had missed her every single day. I had imagined the smile on her face when she saw me, the warm embrace, and the drive home filled with laughter about everything we had missed. Instead, while searching for a parking ticket near a nearby cafe, I heard Rebecca laughing with her best friend, Olivia, just a few feet away. Then I heard the words that shattered everything I believed about our marriage. She quietly admitted that if I ever discovered the truth, would never forgive her. My heart stopped. Every dream I had built over 8 years suddenly felt like it was collapsing around me. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness, forgiveness, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who loves emotional stories, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more heartfelt stories like this every week. I am Michael Carter, a 36-year-old architect living in Austin, Texas. My life had never been glamorous, but it had always been honest. Rebecca entered my life when I was struggling to pay off student loans while working endless overtime at a small architecture firm. She had been the bright light that convinced me life was about more than success. Together we built a modest home, rescued an old golden retriever named Cooper, and dreamed about starting a family one day. She always encouraged me to chase my ambitions, and I believed there wasn't a single secret between us. Standing behind a large pillar in the airport, I never intended to eavesdrop. I simply froze when I heard my own name. Rebecca looked exhausted from the trip, but her expression carried a sadness I had never seen before. Olivia gently held her arm while listening. Rebecca confessed that hiding the truth from me had become unbearable. She said she hated lying every single day, but she couldn't bear the thought of losing me. Those words echoed in my mind like thunder. My imagination immediately raced toward betrayal. Had she met someone else? Had our marriage been built on lies? Every terrifying possibility attacked me at once. Before I could hear anything more, hundreds of travelers poured through the hallway, separating the two women from my view. Moments later Rebecca spotted me waiting with the flowers. She smiled warmly, rushed into my arms, and hugged me tightly. Her embrace felt exactly the same as always, but my own arms hesitated for the first time since we had met. She looked into my eyes with genuine affection, yet all I could think about were the words she had whispered only moments earlier. The drive home was strangely quiet. Rebecca talked about delayed flights, conference meetings, and funny moments with coworkers, but my mind wasn't listening. Every sentence she spoke sounded distant. I wanted to ask her what secret she had been hiding, but fear held me back. I wasn't ready to hear an answer that might destroy my life forever. Over the next several days, I became someone I barely recognized. I smiled during dinner, kissed Rebecca goodbye before work, and pretended everything was normal. Inside, however, I was drowning. I stopped sleeping well. Every late phone call made my heart race. Every message notification on Rebecca's phone filled me with suspicion. I hated the person I was becoming, yet I couldn't stop imagining the worst. One Saturday afternoon, while cleaning the garage, I found an old photo album from our first years together. The pictures reminded me of the tiny apartment where we had survived on frozen dinners, celebrated promotions with cheap pizza, and laughed even when life felt uncertain. Looking at those memories made me wonder if I had misunderstood what I heard. Rebecca had never given me any reason to doubt her before. Maybe there was another explanation. That evening I finally gathered enough courage to tell her we needed to talk. My voice trembled as I admitted hearing part of her conversation at the airport. The smile disappeared from her face instantly. Tears filled her eyes before I had even finished explaining. Instead of becoming angry that I had overheard her, she simply lowered her head and whispered that she had known this day would eventually come. For several long moments, neither of us spoke. The silence felt heavier than any argument. Rebecca slowly walked upstairs and returned carrying a small wooden box I had never seen before. Inside were dozens of hospital receipts, medical reports, and handwritten letters addressed to me but never delivered. My hands shook as I opened the first envelope. Nearly 2 years earlier, during what I believed had been a routine medical appointment, Rebecca had been diagnosed with a rare heart condition. The doctors told her that without treatment, her condition would continue to worsen. Surgery offered hope, but there were risks. She had hidden everything from me because she knew I was already under enormous pressure trying to launch my own architecture business after losing my previous job. She believed that if I knew the truth, I would abandon every dream I had worked toward just to care for her. The conference in New York had never been just a conference. It had included appointments with one of the country's leading heart specialists. Olivia had accompanied her because she couldn't face the appointments alone. The secret she had confessed at the airport wasn't about another man. It was about her illness, her fear, and the guilt she carried for hiding it from the person she loved most. I couldn't stop the tears. I wasn't crying because she was sick. I was crying because she had suffered in silence while trying to protect me. At the same time, I felt heartbroken that she believed she had to face such terrifying news alone. Rebecca admitted that every morning she watched me leave for work and wondered if it would be the last normal day we would ever have together. She said she had written countless letters in case something happened during surgery because she couldn't bear the thought of leaving without telling me how deeply she loved me. That night neither of us slept. Instead, we sat together on the living room floor until sunrise, sharing every fear, every regret, and every dream we still hoped to achieve. For the first time in months, there were no secrets between us. The following weeks were the hardest of our lives. We traveled together to New York for additional tests. I attended every appointment, held her hand in every waiting room, and reminded her that marriage meant facing storms together, not protecting each other by suffering alone. Friends from church organized meals, neighbors cared for Cooper, and complete strangers offered encouragement after hearing our story. The morning of Rebecca's surgery felt endless. Every minute inside that hospital waiting room seemed like an hour. I replayed our entire relationship in my mind, realizing that love isn't measured by perfect days but by the willingness to remain faithful during impossible ones. After several agonizing hours, the surgeon finally walked toward me with a gentle smile. The operation had been successful. Rebecca would need time to recover, but her future looked brighter than anyone had expected. When I entered her hospital room, she reached for my hand before opening her eyes completely. Neither of us needed many words. The tears, the smiles, and the silence said everything. Months later, we returned to Dallas, Fort Worth Airport together. This time we weren't arriving separately. We were flying home after Rebecca's final successful checkup. Standing in the same terminal where my heart had once broken, I realized how dangerous assumptions can be. One overheard sentence had nearly convinced me that my marriage was built on betrayal, when in reality it had been built on sacrificial love mixed with fear. If Rebecca had trusted me sooner, we both could have carried the burden together. If I had confronted her immediately instead of assuming the worst, I could have spared myself days of unnecessary pain. We both learned that silence, even when motivated by love, often creates deeper wounds than difficult truth ever could. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that remind us of the power of faith, hope, forgiveness, and family. Before this story ends, tell us in the comments, if you had overheard that conversation at the airport, would you have confronted your spouse immediately, or would you have waited to learn the whole truth? As we drove away from the airport with the Texas sunset painting the sky in shades of gold, I reached across the center console and held Rebecca's hand tighter than ever before. Life had reminded us that love is not about living without secrets because no one is perfect. It is about finding the courage to tell the truth before fear becomes a wall between two hearts. And sometimes, the greatest miracle isn't surviving the storm, it is discovering that the person beside you never stopped loving you through it all.